Tim Walz has been sharing some opinions of his on why he and Kamala Harris lost the 2024 election. Let's take a look at what he has to say. This is The Guardian reporting. Tim Walz said that he and Kamala Harris were too safe during their election campaign, with him claiming they should have held more in-person events around the U.S. Quote, "We shouldn't have been playing this thing so safe," Walz said in an interview with Politico, as Democrats seek to learn the lessons of Donald Trump's win in November, which has sent the party into the political wilderness. Walz, who was widely seen as one of the Democratic Party's most effective messengers against Trump and Vance in 2024, became best known for his frequent description of the pair as weird. Also said he and Harris had been harped by the shortened length of their campaign. That's definitely true. I will say, with regard to them playing it safe, I don't entirely know about that. I mean, Tim Walz was not afraid to be edgy, that's for sure. If he means safe as in, oh, we didn't go out enough, maybe that's true, that he didn't go and hold in-person events enough. But he definitely was not afraid to call out the Republicans, to say stuff like, not just they're weird, which is, like a kindergartner word, but fascists. He was saying, yeah, these people are fascists, but on top of that, they're just weird. So kind of highlighting the idea that not only are they extremely dangerous, and not only are the policies that they support fascistic and authoritarian, and they want to control you, but they also are just total clowns. They're weird. So he was not afraid to take the gloves off with the Republicans. So in that sense, I don't totally know if he played it safe. Kamala Harris, maybe not so much, but she also wasn't afraid to call Trump a fascist. So I don't know if she totally played it safe in that regard. But I don't know. The first issue that I think of with their campaign is not that they did not do enough in-person events. It's probably that they resembled the status quo a little too much, like Kamala Harris didn't differentiate herself from Joe Biden enough, and simply that the economy was not doing as well as people had hoped it would. Harris effectively became the nominee on August 5th, just 3 months before the election. Walz said that the abbreviated time frame limited the amount of risks the campaign was able to take. I think that's probably true. Because, they did not come in with this huge amount of votes in the primary, and it's not her fault. We know Republicans love to mock Kamala Harris, like, oh, she got 0 votes in the Democratic primary, but that's not her fault at all. They needed someone to replace Biden. But and then they got this huge boost actually originally, and then that boost started to fade away, arguably after Kamala Harris started doing more media appearances. Conservatives say that a lot, but I do think that there's some truth to that, in the sense that the idea of people is the idea of Kamala Harris to people is a little more appealing than the reality of her. So they think, oh yeah, she's the nominee now, that's great, she's the vice president, she's taking over. Tim Walz seems pretty cool, but then she does these media appearances and people are like, I don't know, she's all right, don't know if I'll vote for her though. That seemed like that was becoming a pattern, and it was something that was harming Kamala Harris along the way. She did fairly well in her debate against Trump, but there were no debates after that. And there's a lot of mixed views on, for example, her interview with Bret Baier and how that went. A lot of conservatives say that she did absolutely terribly in that. A lot of progressives defend her. But I don't know how the average American feels about that. But there were definitely some mistakes made. Quote, "These are things that you might have been able to get your sea legs, if you will, 18 months out where the stakes were a lot lower," he added. "But after you lose, you have to go back and assess where everything was at. And I think that this is one area that we should think about." Walz's verdict was that he and Harris should have spent more time directly engaging with Americans as they sprinted through their 107-day campaign. Quote, "I think we probably should have just rolled the dice and done the town halls where voters may say, 'You're full of shit, I don't believe in you,'" he told Politico. "I think there could have been more of that." Walz has been returning to the national spotlight of late, conducting more TV appearances, and last week headlining a fundraiser event in front of 1,000 Democrats in the home state. His use of social media and folksy appearances in TV interviews were praised during the early part of the campaign, and Walz suggested he and Harris could have done that more. Yeah, I agree. I do agree. I also think that, getting town hall type events together, that is a good idea. And you know what? If people want to be confrontational, if people want to say you're full of shit, your ideas are dumb, I don't trust you, you're a politician, you're bad or whatever, so be it. It's those types of interactions that give politicians a chance to kind of explain themselves, when they're being heckled, to show that they're calm, that they're able to handle adversity, that they're able to handle opposition. Because Trump, of course, can't handle that. If you call him out, he will throw a huge temper tantrum. If you tell him he's full of shit, he's going to start screaming at you. And Tim Walz is like a little bit more of just this folksy, as this article said, a folksy Midwestern guy. So he would have benefited from that in more of those settings. Now, he did seem to go out a lot and do stuff. Like, for example, I think he had a Jubilee thing where he was talking to undecided voters about Kamala Harris. So he was able to rizz people up in person. I guess his issue is maybe he feels like he didn't do that quite enough. I kind of wonder if the Kamala Harris campaign actually didn't want to do that. Like, they actively were telling their presidential and vice presidential candidate, listen, we think it's a good idea that you stay indoors and don't go out, don't engage with voters too much. It's definitely possible. But this is an interesting take from Walz in that I don't hear the right wing saying it and I don't hear the left wing saying it. I hear the right wing saying stuff like, well, this election was just a rejection of the far left and extreme progressivism and wokeness and, you know, sex changes for illegal immigrants and all that stuff. They have their talking points. A lot of people on the left will say, well, they didn't differentiate themselves enough from Biden. Biden didn't do enough to give them a good record going in that they could talk about. You know, there was the Inflation Reduction Act, which was pretty good, but they didn't have more to really run on. And yeah, so they also then cuddling up to Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney, of course, being the daughter of Dick Cheney, a notorious neoconservative and architect of the Iraq War. So that was not a good look in the eyes of a lot of progressives. So it's interesting that Tim Walz didn't mention that. But this is definitely one of those takes that you don't hear as much as to why they lost. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below about Tim Walz's reasoning for why he and Kamala Harris lost. As always, like, comment, or subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you in my next video.